Good evening, folks. I would like to call this regular meeting of the Coralville City Council to order. It is September 9th, 2025. Could I have the roll call, please?
Knutson.
Here.
Vogelzang.
Here.
Quinn. Peterson. Goodrich.
Here. So we have 3 of our 5 council members here this evening. So fortunately, we do have a quorum. Councilmember Peterson is traveling for work, and Councilmember Nguyen is visiting family this evening. So we've got a bare bones situation up here, but we will be able to get our very short agenda taken care of this evening. Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Knutson. Could I get a second? Seconded by Goodrich. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Our agenda is approved. Okay, on to our next item. So we're going to have a lot of fun here this evening. I have several proclamations to read, and it's been a minute since I've read a proclamation, so really looking forward to this tonight. So I will start with our first proclamation, which is for Hydrocephalus Awareness Month and Hydrocephalus Awareness Day. Whereas hydrocephalus, derived from the Greek words hydro, meaning water, and cephalus, meaning head, is a condition that has no cure. And there is an abnormal accumulation of cerebrospinal fluid in the brain, which creates harmful pressure and can be fatal if left untreated. And whereas there are 2 primary types of hydrocephalus, including congenital hydrocephalus, which may be caused by either events or influences that occur during fetal development, or genetic abnormalities, and acquired hydrocephalus, which affects individuals of all ages and may be caused by an injury or disease. 2 other forms of hydrocephalus, which primarily affect adults, are ex vacuo, which occurs when stroke or traumatic injury or damage happens to the brain, and normal pressure hydrocephalus, which mostly affects adults age 60 or older, and often the cause is unknown. And whereas experts estimate that hydrocephalus affects well over 1 million Americans and occurs in 1 of every 770 infants and an estimated 800,000 older Americans. The only treatment for hydrocephalus requires brain surgery and is most often treated by inserting a shunt system, which diverts flow of cerebrospinal fluid to another area of the body where it can be absorbed as part of the normal circulatory process. And whereas affected individuals and their families should be aware that hydrocephalus poses a risk to both cognitive and physical development and often requires repeated brain surgeries over a lifetime. However, children diagnosed with the disorder benefit from early intervention programs, rehabilitation therapies, and educational interventions, and may go on to lead lives with few limitations. And whereas representatives from national, state, and local levels of the State of Iowa Community Network of the Hydrocephalus Association and the national level Hydrocephalus Association, in conjunction with leaders from professional, community, and medical-based organizations, are dedicated to increasing public awareness of hydrocephalus and the needs of families, resulting in better health for all individuals in the state of Iowa and throughout the nation. Now, therefore, I, Megan Foster, Mayor of the City of Coralville, do hereby proclaim September 1st, 2025 as Hydrocephalus Awareness Day and September 2025 as Hydrocephalus Awareness Month in the City of Coralville. And I encourage everyone to join me in raising awareness about hydrocephalus and support efforts to learn more about its causes and treatment options. Signed on this 9th day of September 2025, Megan Foster, Mayor. Okay, there we go. And I know we have some very special guests here to accept this proclamation. Would you like to come up to the microphone and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much. The 3 W's, wet, wacky, and wobbly.
These are the three big symptoms that medical providers use to diagnose NPH or normal pressure hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus is the buildup of cerebrospinal fluid in the brain, also known as water in the brain, and can happen to anyone at any time. Wet means trouble with bladder control. Wobbly means balance issues. Wacky is increased confusion and forgetfulness. These symptoms start to show in a span of 3 to 6 months. So when the famous Piano Man singer, Billy Joel, was recently diagnosed with NPH, there was a high chance that these symptoms would be misdiagnosed as Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. In fact, a recent study estimates close to 1 million older Americans have NPH, and more than 80% of those cases are misdiagnosed. That's insane. There is a chance that there is someone you know that is misdiagnosed. This is why we walk. We walk to bring awareness to an incredibly unknown condition and help improve lives. Thank you to the City of Coralville, Mayor Megan Foster, for recognizing September as Hydrocephalus Awareness Month. It is the strength of our communities that helps us grow and bring awareness. We are excited to have our state walk in Coralville again this year. Last year was amazing. Thank you all. And we hope that you guys can come join us on Saturday, September 20th, 2025 at St. Morrison Park at the Fireside Shelter at 9 a.m. And we hope to see you all there. It's a really great time. It's just a fun event celebrating our community. And bringing awareness. Yeah. Thank you.
Can you share your name? And
oh, yeah. Hi, my name is Duha Tawil, and I am a 10-year person of Coralville, Iowa, and I love living here.
And serves on our Parks and Rec Commission.
Yes, and I
for a long
also,
time.
I'm very active in the
Yes.
community. Whatever you guys need, I do it.
All right, thank you so much. Let's give
Thank you so
Duha a round of applause. Let's grab a photo.
And I do this for my son.
Aww.
Set me in a rabbit hole.
All right, you get right there. Do you want to hold it? You want to hold it? Or you hold the rock? All right, thank you. That is all yours. You get to keep that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I do just want to say that was a wonderful event. I was honored to attend last year. Duha does an incredible job of organizing it, and it was a really wonderful morning. Lots of kids, lots of families, a lot of fun. Okay. Next proclamation of the evening is for Iowa Mission of Mercy Week. Whereas oral health care is critical to an individual's overall health and access to dental care has become increasingly challenging for many Iowans. And whereas for those with low income or without health or dental coverage, the problem is compounded significantly. And whereas on September 19th and 20th, the Hyatt Regency Coralville Hotel and Conference Center will be transformed into a mobile dental clinic where hundreds of volunteers, including dentists, dental hygienists, dental assistants, dental suppliers, and others, will provide free oral care to hundreds of area residents. And whereas the 16th annual Iowa Mission of Mercy demonstrates Iowa's commitment to provide access to dental care and information on preventative care for a healthier Iowa. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Megan Foster, Mayor of the City of Coralville, do hereby proclaim September 14th through the 20th, 2025, as Iowa Mission of Mercy Week in Coralville. And on behalf of everyone in our community, we thank the volunteer professionals and the Iowa Dental Foundation for their service. Signed on this 9th day of September 2025, Megan Foster, Mayor. Okay, and I do believe we have some representatives from this organization that are here as well. Please step up to the microphone and introduce yourself and tell us about this amazing event.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Okobi Voshel. I'm a dentist here in the Iowa City area. I own a small practice on Mormon Trek called Willow Creek Family Dentistry. The Iowa Mission of Mercy is an important event for me. It's the entire reason I became a dentist. I volunteered for my first IMOM in 2009 when I was trying to decide what I should do as a grown-up. And I got to hold hands and see the care that patients were given and see the appreciation that they had and see the disparity in care that we had. I grew up very poor, and the only reason I feel that my teeth look like they look, as opposed to some of the patients that we will see in a couple of weeks, is because of the care that I received as a child. I have a disease called hemophilia. It's a bleeding disorder. My blood doesn't clot right. And because of that, I spent a lot of time here in Iowa City, at the university, at the clinics, learning how to take care of myself so that I didn't have to get surgeries and things like that, because it's very dangerous. So because of that care, I see at IMOM patients that grew up just like me, in the same socioeconomic class as me, in the same situation as me, with a very large disparity in oral health. That is what drove me to become a dentist, only like a short decade after that first IMOM. But that's what drove me to become a dentist, and getting to bring it back to Iowa City and Coralville, my hometown, is fantastic. I was born here in Iowa City. When I came to dental school, I brought my family back to Iowa City, and we stayed because it's fantastic. We live just up the street in Coralville. It's amazing, as you all know. This is the first year that we've had IMOM at Coralville or Iowa City, so we've never had it this close before. It's been Cedar Rapids is the closest we've ever gotten. So getting that here into this community is a fantastic way for us to help the people here. We can see the need that they have, and we can see the outreach that the community has to help these people, help their neighbors. We can thank the mayor, of course, for the proclamation, and everyone that's helped set up all the work that's gone into it. Some of the groups that have helped us include the Johnson County Cattlemen. They're feeding everyone for that event. Local chapters of the Knights of Columbus. English River Plumbing is doing the plumbing work for free for us. That's fantastic. There's a group of local electricians, just like some electrician dudes that were like, yeah, we got it, we'll do it. So they set all that stuff up for us. It's fantastic. It's an incredible event. We will see over 1,000 patients and do around $1 million worth of dentistry over 2 days, the 19th and 20th of September. We are currently at 1,400 registered volunteers, which is the most that we've ever had for this kind of event. We're really close to the university, my alma mater, and having the students come to provide care is going to be foundational, I think, for their education. Thank you so much, Mayor Foster, for the proclamation, and thank you so much for allowing us to host this in our wonderful town.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank
Give
you.
a round of applause. I am so excited about this. This is truly wonderful, and appreciate your advocacy. Let's take a photo.
Yeah.
All right.
Somebody volunteers, though. If anybody's looking. You don't got to be a dentist or a hygienist or an assistant. We need translators for language. We have one sign language translator from a whole group. She's also a dental student, so she's a pretty busy girl. So if you have any need or desire to come volunteer or know anyone who would be interested in doing this, we would love to have them.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, let's snap a photo here. All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, what do we have next? Next, we have a proclamation for Welcoming Week. Okay. Whereas this September, the city of Coralville and the broader Johnson County community will come together to find common ground with our neighbors, seek similarities within our different cultures and perspectives, and deepen our commitments to build a stronger and more resilient city of Coralville and Johnson County. And whereas we are much stronger when we embrace our similarities and differences, and the members of our community will do just that by sharing food, music, art, conversation, and more throughout the week. And whereas this week provides an opportunity to pause, reflect, and plan for the next phase of welcoming work in the city of Coralville and Johnson County, our communities prioritize a spirit of welcoming year-round. Welcoming is a core part of who we are and who we have always been. And the city of Coralville and Johnson County will continue to choose connection, courage, and love over division, fear, and hate. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Megan Foster, Mayor of the City of Coralville, do hereby proclaim the week of September 12th through the 21st, 2025, as Welcoming Week. And I call upon the people of Coralville and Johnson County to join together to build stronger communities across Coralville and Johnson County. Signed on this 9th day of September, 2025, Megan Foster, Mayor. Okay, and we have some guests here to talk to us about Welcoming Week.
We have lots of supporters here.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, thank you, Mayor Foster and Coralville City Council and staff. So this year marks the third consecutive year of Johnson County's community's collective collaboration in celebrating Welcoming Week. I'm Evan Doyle. I'm with Greater Iowa City, here to represent Greater Iowa City and Better Together 2030. And our organizations are proud to continually support our counties and our many communities, immigrant populations, organizations, and businesses in this important celebration. So Welcoming Week is an over week-long annual celebration of immigrants all across the county. And as you mentioned, Welcoming Week is this Friday, September 12th through Sunday, September 21st. Through Welcoming Week, organizations and communities bring together neighbors of all backgrounds to build strong connections and strong connections and affirm the importance of welcoming and inclusive places in achieving collective prosperity. So locally, our cities and organizations are leaning into Welcoming Week more than ever, given this is our third consecutive year of collective collaboration. Each additional year of collaboration and celebration attracts more people and community groups that want to get involved and are stepping up to get involved. The growing local support for Welcoming Week exemplifies powerful collaboration to embrace shared prosperity for all. This year, there's over 10 events scheduled during that Welcoming Week, all put on by local organizations ready to embrace Johnson County's welcoming status. These events are free and open to the public, and we encourage everyone to attend and see what Welcoming Week is all about in Johnson County. This Welcoming Week, let's declare that belonging begins with us. That is the Welcoming Week slogan, and that each and every one of us has the power to help others regardless of background so that everyone is seen, embraced, welcome, and included in our communities. To learn more about Welcoming Week, we do have a local website named welcomeicareA.org. That website has been up for a couple years, and that is where you can find a list of all the events that will take place during Welcoming Week and more information about the background of Welcoming Week. Lastly, we encourage everyone to display our Welcoming Week yard signs. These were the same yard signs as last year, and that is intentional because this is not just a week that we celebrate every year. We want this to be a continual support for immigrant communities and populations. These signs will continue to be in people's yards year after year, and Greater Iowa City and Better Together are here to support every part of it. With that, I know Ellen is also here to make some comments.
So I'm Ellen Alexander. I'm the Assistant Director at the Coralville Library, and I just wanted to add that our local Welcoming Week event will be a community meal, a free community meal that will take place on the library lawn Friday, September 19th from 5 to 7 p.m. We are using the time-honored Midwestern tradition of pairing chili with cinnamon rolls as our way to welcome people. So the food pantry, the Coralville Community Food Pantry, will be providing chili. New Pioneer Co-op is providing cinnamon rolls, and I believe the pantry is still looking for people to donate cinnamon rolls as well. You can find information on their website, but we have Family Folk Machine performing. We'll have all sorts of family fun activities on the lawn. So come join us Friday the 19th from 5 to 7, and it's before the Iowa game happens that night, so
Okay.
no excuses.
I know that is, people are going to ask questions about that. Awesome, thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak to us about Welcoming Week? Yeah, we'll take a photo. And yeah, if you have a cinnamon roll recipe, bake up a pan of them, bring them to the community meal. Who doesn't love a good cinnamon roll, right? All right. but not least, our final proclamation for the evening is for National Surgical Technologists Week. Whereas for over 60 years, surgical technology has grown to meet the ever-increasing demand for well-educated, highly skilled, and versatile surgical technicians. And whereas surgical technicians are entrusted with the lives and well-being of patients and provide a critical service during surgical procedures. And whereas over 100,000 surgical technologists nationwide are an integral part of the surgical team committed to providing the highest quality of surgical care to patients. And whereas surgical technologists are responsible for the application of sterile and aseptic technique in the operating room, ensuring that the equipment functions properly and facilitating safe and effective conduct during invasive surgical procedures. And whereas surgical technologists strive to prevent life-threatening surgical site infections and maximize patient safety. And whereas surgical technologists graduate from an accredited program and receive certification conferred by the National Board of Surgical Technology and Surgical Assisting based upon passage of the national examination. And whereas the surgical technologist motto is "the patient first," reflects the total commitment to patient safety and advocacy. And now, therefore, I, Megan Foster, Mayor of the City of Coralville, do hereby proclaim September 21st through the 27th to be National Surgical Technologists Week across Coralville. And I urge my fellow citizens to join me in acknowledging the important role of surgical technologists in the care and recovery of their patients. We honor these men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep residents of Coralville safe and healthy. Signed on this 9th day of September 2025, Megan Foster, Mayor. Okay, do we have anyone here to receive this proclamation? I'm not sure that we do. If we do not have anyone here to receive it, we will get that to the folks that requested it. Okay. And with that, we wrap up our batch of proclamations for this evening. Now, on to our next agenda item, which is community comments. This is a time for community members to speak to us about items that aren't on the agenda or items that are on the agenda but are not subject to a public hearing. So I think we have quite a few folks that are here to speak with us this evening on various topics. And I'm just going to ask that you keep your remarks to about 2 or 3 minutes, because I know we've got quite a few folks that would like to speak, and I want to make sure we have enough time for everyone to share their comments. So I'm not going to do formal timing, but I am going to do the honor system and just ask that you keep your remarks at about the 2 to 3 minute mark. Okay. So, who would like to speak with us this evening?
Good evening. My name is Dan Wohlers. I am a 24-year resident in Coralville, and tonight I'd like to talk about the flock cameras. At the last City Council meeting, I heard these cameras referred to as license plate readers. Is that all they are? When you take a look at Flock's own marketing materials on their website at flocksafety.com, it says, and I quote, "No plate, no problem. Capture more detail with vehicle fingerprint. Turn images into actionable evidence, no plate required." If Flock can track a vehicle when there's no license plate on the car, it is not just a license plate reader. So what are these capable of reading? Flock's own website indicates that they catalog vehicles on numerous features, including make, model, color, bumper stickers, dents, damage patterns, roof racks, aftermarket modifications, window stickers, and even mismatching paint colors. Flock claims this capability allows law enforcement to search for vehicles based on these characteristics, even without a visible plate. So if a person can search for a car based on a bumper sticker or a roof rack, that is not a license plate reader. That is a surveillance camera. So maybe you're a little unsettled by this, but these are just still images of vehicles that pass by these cameras, right? Again, from Flock's own website, fixed live video is coming to all LPR cameras free by the end of 2025. All existing Flock LPRs will soon stream live video and capture clips with free software update. No new hardware, no permits, no extra cost. So now we've gone from what was originally introduced as a license plate camera to a video surveillance device. How does Flock process all the data they're gathering? With AI. Another quote from their website. Flock Freeform combines powerful AI, cross-agency access, and real-time alerts. With video, the difference being able to read a license plate or a face or a bumper sticker is the type of prompt that you use in the AI model that is loaded. Again, this is not just a license plate reader. It is an AI-powered surveillance camera. At the last meeting, I heard some people say, well, it's just 6 cameras. Well, that's where we're starting. Do we have an ordinance in place that limits the number of cameras in town? I don't believe that we do. If more cameras are requested, will this be debated by the council, or will it be buried in a budget request and expanded without approval from the council or input from the public? How far can this expand? Flock also offers drones with rapid aerial visibility and thermal and night vision imaging. Do we have any guardrails in place? Law enforcement may argue that these 6 cameras may make us safer. They also may argue 6 more would surely add more safety and 6 more again after that. At what point does the council feel that this surveillance becomes excessive? 20 cameras, 50 cameras, 100 cameras? Or maybe when there's a camera on the road outside your medical office, or outside your house of worship, or outside your union hall. Surveilling the public creates a climate of fear. It hinders political expression and infringes on privacy rights, which ultimately corrodes democratic values. Implementing a Flock system makes tracking mandatory, unavoidable, and accessible at the click of a button. Let us all remember that freedom and liberty die in small increments. The erosion of our fundamental rights often does not happen through one single dramatic event, but through a series of small, seemingly insignificant changes. In this instance, it starts with 6 cameras.
All right, thank you. Oh, did you sign in?
Yes.
Did you sign in?
Yep. Next on the list is Ryan Swinka.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Ryan Swanka. What is the problem we are trying to solve? I've found throughout my life that people in positions of power do not pause and ask this question often enough. Question today is in relation to a contract that none of you seem to have been particularly aware of until after it was signed. The question could just as well apply to any of the other agenda items that you put onto these meetings. What is the problem we are trying to solve by partnering with Flock? If it's crime, that's news to me. I've had a house in here, Coralville, for 6 years, lived in Coralville the last 10, and lived in Johnson County my entire life, and I'm 35. I'm unaware of any rampant crime or issues related to our citizens or anything to do as a consequence of where we are located within the county. If you paid attention in the last meeting, you would know that we do not have a major crime issue in Coralville, as we saw from the chief's numbers. If you've paid attention to news about the cameras, you would know that they have illegally coordinated with federal authorities and with the current federal administration. This presents a very grave threat to many within our community, particularly the LGBTQ and immigrant communities. The Supreme Court just rolled back restrictions on this administration's targeting of people based on their language and ethnicity. Protect your community, cancel this contract. With these cameras, Coralville will not own this data. Coralville will not be able to verify where this data goes. Their systems will be a black box that you are never granted access to. It takes mere seconds for their systems to catalog this data and sell it to other third parties, and I've never known a private company to willingly give up anything they could profit off of. For our police, it is a tool, but regardless of the legality, it will be used in parallel construction and abuse. Extremely specific data about the movements and associations of individuals violates our rights. It's ripe for abuse, and this information does not belong in the hands of a private company. They state that this is only for vehicles, but as the cameras capture much, much more, and we just heard from the previous commenter how they will be expanding this capability, it's something that we can't trust. These cameras will not reduce crime. It's 2025. We know what reduces crime, and that's fighting against poverty. Everything else is just an excuse. These cameras are nothing more than a toy for local and federal departments to abuse, as has been well documented in numerous cases already, all across the U.S. I ask that you not spend days or weeks trying to craft or amend policies to close dozens of loopholes that are possible with these licensed black box systems. It's okay to admit if you don't fully understand the technology. It's okay to admit that the contract was a mistake. It's okay, and given the circumstances, it is the right thing to do to cancel this contract and not trust a sales rep with no obligation to our community. I ask instead that you cancel the contract for a surveillance tool our city doesn't need. I ask you consider the problems in our city you are trying to solve and how we can address them together as a community instead of subjecting ourselves and our guests to this surveillance. If you need ideas on where the money could go, look to all of us here. Each of us has our own experiences to pull from, find common threads, and fulfill responsibility to your community by being informed. Don't just shrug and say that the contract is already signed. That's abdication. And for everyone else, my name is Ryan Swenka. I'm running for mayor of Coralville. I am against the flock cameras and AR surveillance in our community. I support the passing of the Equal Protections Resolution and our right to defend our friends, families, and ourselves. If you'd like to sign my nomination papers, you can flag me down. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next.
I'm not nearly as tall as the rest of you. Okay. My name is Katie Freeman, and I use they, them pronouns. In March of this year, gender identity was removed as a protected class from the Iowa Civil Rights Act. What this means is that transgender residents within Iowa can be denied housing, work, and access to financial institutions, just to name a few. The reason this was something the Republican-led state legislature wanted is so they can pass other bills, specifically ones targeted at our access to restrooms and health care. This is not something they have been quiet about. However, when cities have human rights ordinances, such as the one in Coralville, this very vulnerable community maintains some protections. The aim of the Equal Rights Protection Resolution is to bolster the existing human rights ordinance and urge that it be enforced. To me, this resolution makes sense. It helps protect a population that is being directly targeted by the state of Iowa and the federal government. I asked then of my elected officials, if something will help residents of Coralville, why wouldn't you want to support it?
Okay. Thank you. Do we have other speakers? Yes. Step up to the microphone.
They've been waiting, so I didn't want to step on toes. Okay. Sorry, let me pull up my statement. So I am going to be reading a statement on behalf of my partner. So I'm going to say I, but I don't mean I mean him. Hello. I am sure some of you are wondering why I'm not personally here to read this aloud, and the reason is because I don't feel safe to do it. And that is because I am transgender. I am part of a group of people who fear for their future every day, and now I have to fear for my own future where I have grown up all my life, a place I have called home. I am proud to be an Iowan. I believe it is an amazing place to be and a place to be proud of. One of the biggest things I have always been proud of is how Iowa was one of the first states to legalize same-sex marriage. It made me feel like I'm living in a place that just wants its residents to live their life and be happy. But now I have to convince city council members that I and other queer people should have the right and protection to go about day to day. Unfortunately, Iowa is feeling less like home and more like an inevitable possibility of harm. Because of this, my partner and I have had numerous discussions about leaving to find somewhere safer and more inclusive. Iowa City has been better. It is a small pocket where people from all around can gather for people like them. We hope Coralville will join this effort. where they feel safe and seen and heard. It is so important for minorities and stigmatized groups to have places to feel safe when there's so much uncertainty and fear. If there can be more and more cities following Iowa City and following the lead of Johnson County in promising to protect those who need protecting, it will go a long way in being able to place people, being a place people can trust and enjoy living. I hope that you take the time to look beyond your biases and assumptions, and I and so many others strongly urge you to adopt the Equal Protections Resolution. I also, just on behalf of myself, want to remind everyone that this very closely mirrors the human rights ordinance that already exists in Coralville. We're asking you to reaffirm and to put specific language on it that says we want to protect this specific group as well as all the others that we already do.
All right, thank you for those comments. All right, do we have anyone else that would like to speak to us? Okay.
Hello. My name is Mike Roberts. I use the pronouns he and him. I'd like to start by thanking the council for putting the Equal Protection Resolution on the agenda. This is an important first step in the journey of protecting our LGBTQ plus community from the cruel and cynical attacks coming from Des Moines and our nation's capital. Please follow Iowa City's example by approving these important protections of civil rights. On to the flock topic. I sent an article to the council about an incident where an African-American family was held face down in a parking lot when ALPRs misidentified their vehicle as stolen. I know y'all are busy, and in case you didn't have time to read the article, I wanted to share the following image of the family being held face down at gunpoint in a parking lot. And I'd also like to preface this with a trigger warning. Victims of police violence may find this image disturbing and may want to look away. I'd also like to respond to some of the common themes in points offered by the proponents of AI-driven mass surveillance systems. By the way, this family received a $1.9 million settlement for the violence that was done to them by the Aurora Police Department. Folks repeatedly stated that the cameras do not use facial recognition. This feels like a straw man argument because literally no one speaking against the cameras claimed that they were using facial recognition. People commented that we can already be tracked by our phones. I want to offer everyone a really simple solution to this, this surveillance threat. You can just leave your phone at home. It's not that hard. They also equate AI mass surveillance with the CCTV surveillance that's on the city buildings and in many public businesses and establishments. My question is, can law enforcement anywhere in the nation access CCTV camera footage without a warrant? Are they able to track citizens' phone locations without a warrant? I hope that the answer to these questions is no, but if any law enforcement officers in the room want to disabuse me of my misunderstanding, I'd be really eager to learn that they have these capabilities to track citizens without warrants. I believe the city attorney made the comparison to planting a tracking device on a person's car. I think this is a much more apt comparison because law enforcement can track a person's location without a warrant on a whim. As the network of flock ALPRs grows, there will be no functional difference between tracking a vehicle by planting a tracking device on it and using these cameras. Commenters also suggested that policy and procedures protect us from the dangers of mass surveillance. The reality is that once the data is in the hands of a for-profit enterprise and accessible to departments across the nation, we lose control. Flock, the corporate entity, can do what they want with the data, and we will have no insight or transparency via open records laws that are supposed to protect us from exactly this kind of government overreach. Also, even if our local policies are sufficient to protect us from abuses of the system and our local authorities obey them scrupulously, Our local policy has no bearing on the many other agencies that will have access to this data. I ask you again, please do not move forward with this contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone else that would like to speak? Oh, hello again.
We have to stop meeting like this. I don't know. I should. Thank you all.
Oh, can you say your name?
Yes.
Did you sign in? Yeah, okay.
I will sign in really
Yeah.
quick. My name is Oliver Weiline, City Councilor, City of Iowa City, District C. I was happy to find out that y'all were discussing the resolution that you're going to be discussing next. I can just say, without a shadow of a doubt, conversations I've had with like Iowa citizens and constituents has been overwhelmingly positive since we passed the resolution unanimously. And like some other commenters have said, Iowa City, Coralville, Johnson County is, a bastion of hope for people in Iowa. So many people from around Iowa who like Iowa come here because they still want to live in Iowa, but they want to live in a place where they feel respected. And resolutions like this just reaffirm that trend. Many people have said they wouldn't live in Iowa if it weren't for Johnson County, if it weren't for Coralville, if it weren't for Iowa City, having the values that we do. So something like this, I can't really express. Someone who lots and lots of friends, colleagues who are transgender, just how much this means to them. When resolutions like this are passed, I think it goes a little bit further than just a message of support. It's something more actionable, and especially as city council, as opposed to county government, which has an elected county attorney. We can kind of direct our city attorney what to do, so we have a little bit more power in how we can fight some legal battles. So a resolution like this really just says how we are going to move forward, and we are going to pick those battles when it comes to representing and protecting the people that live in our city. And again, I just wanted to thank you all for bringing it up. I was really happy to see it on the agenda, and we should just meet sometime. I've been meaning to meet with all the Coralville and North Liberty city councilors, just haven't had time yet. So yeah, I'll be reaching out. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Okay, what's your name?
Yes. Hello, welcome. My name is V. Fixma Rise. My pronouns are they, them, and I am here as a Johnson County supervisor. And I'm really excited to see this on your agenda. Thank you for having the courage to put it on there, quite frankly. And I do mean that sincerely. When I ran for office in 2022, which feels like 100 years ago, I really ran on inclusive economic development and affordable housing. And what I stepped into was the first year of the Republican-controlled state legislature having mass attacks on transgender youth and LGBTQ community in general. My first 2 months in office, I was getting calls because fourth graders were organizing walkouts of their school because of the bathroom bans. I was getting phone calls from parents asking me where they could seek gender-affirming care all hours of the night. I was on Zoom calls with care providers from across the state, also in Minnesota and Wisconsin and Illinois, trying to figure out where are we going to send our trans youth to get the medical attention that they desperately need. I think that what you see before you today, I want to say I'm very proud, first of all, of the Transgender Advisory Committee. If there are members of that committee here, could you please stand? Because I do want you to be recognized. What we have seen in Johnson County is that our community has come together, and as local officials, it was imperative that the county level we stood up a transgender advisory committee because we needed the community to tell us how can we help you, because the state doesn't care about you. And that's a horrible thing to say. It's one of the reasons why our suicide rates are astronomical. I think every person probably can feel the state that we're in right now as a nation. I've been talking about fascism for a couple of years now, and I think that it is here. And I think that what people are feeling is that we have a government hell-bent on destroying democracy in our country. And that has bearing on what you're looking at today, because I think it takes deep courage to say, actually, we're going to stand up and protect those that actually need those protections. As we mentioned earlier, the word transgender was taken out of the protections this year. And I was at the Capitol, I was there I actually was on the Senate committee hearing. And to sit in a room full of people who have so much power and who were on their phones or not looking me in the eye was dehumanizing. And I think that that's what we're really facing. And so what I find encouraging is that you are humanizing us. You're saying, we see you and we care about you. A friend of mine gave me just a funny example of this. I think many of us can remember the Save the Rainforest campaign, right? There's some young people here, but maybe
not everybody.
Yeah, maybe not everybody, but a good portion of folks probably remember Save the Rainforest. But what you didn't hear was at the expense of other forests, because I get a lot of people that say, "Well, why protect you? Like, what is special about you?" And we didn't say that about the rainforest, and I don't think that we need to say that about us. We are, I guess you could say, rainbow, rainforest, however you want to put it together. But what I'm trying to emphasize here is that when there is a group of people, a resource, natural, whatever it may be, that is under duress, and we are under duress, it is incumbent upon our local governments and allies and loved ones to care for one another, to protect us. And that's what this does today. So I look forward to hearing your discussion. And my door is always open. I really, truly love this county. I love serving with all of you, alongside you, and would welcome your attendance in any of our Transgender Advisory Committee meetings. Mayor Foster was there earlier. And it means a lot. As you may know, it means a lot for us to come together and to have our local electeds in the room. So thank you for this.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Okay.
Thanks. I'm Sean McRoberts. My pronouns are they, them. I'm writing my name down. I'm a resident of Iowa City, but I grew up in Coralville. And I'm really glad to be here this evening and to be sharing with you. I'll echo a little bit, but try not to repeat too much that you've heard. I am so grateful that y'all are considering the Transgender Advisory Committee's recommendation of equal protections resolution to reaffirm your commitment to your human rights ordinance here in Coralville. I'm so glad that Coralville passed in 2007 a human rights ordinance, that Coralville saw the wisdom of taking local specific action to protect people's human rights. I think that was wise. It was filled with foresight, and I think it's something worthy of continuing and building upon. Particularly in this moment, it matters. It matters particularly for trans folks, for immigrants and refugees. It matters for people who are living in marginalized positions in our society, who need protection of local government when state and federal government are failing us or seeking to do us harm. This resolution that you have before you this evening doesn't change the city ordinances of Coralville, which matters because they were well built in 2007. There are opportunities for growth, but that's a conversation for another time. This resolution, though, does send a valuable message. It reaffirms Coralville's commitment to defend human rights, which is especially important as folks are afraid, as you've been hearing, as you've heard in conversations with local constituents outside of this meeting. As folks are afraid that we will not be able to access medical care that we need or that our children need, as folks are afraid that we will lose housing or jobs and not be able to live in the communities that we love, my friends are fleeing the state because they're concerned for themselves and for their children. And affirming this resolution, reaffirming your commitment to your human rights ordinance, sends a message that people need not be afraid in Coralville. because their government is on their side. This is an important thing to do in this moment as the state of Iowa is removing gender identity protection from the Civil Rights Code in our state, so that folks here in Coralville will know that they are safe, that they will be protected in the event that they are discriminated against related to housing, employment, public accommodation, that their government has their back. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you so much in advance for your work to adopt this resolution. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay. All right.
Sorry about that. Hello, my name is Morgan Sass. I live in Iowa City, but I work in Coralville, and I want to remind everybody here, even though transgender people are a very small population, the rules that affect us have splashback onto cisgender individuals. For example, hormone replacement therapy is used with cisgender people more than every trans person, for a multitude of issues, such as postmenopausal women use estrogen to help with bone health. Testosterone is used for both men and women to help treat migraines, and topical estrogen is also used to treat hormonal acne. Testosterone is also used to treat people like myself with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So if a cis person with any of these conditions leaves a healthcare clinic and an aforementioned flock camera catches their license plate or their car, they would be liable to be discriminated against by the state for seeming transgender, because this discrimination against gender identity, you can't tell who's trans by looking at them. So this isn't just trans people. This is people who seem trans. And so you see how that immediately affects swaths of the population as opposed to the statistical 1%. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right.
Hi, my name is Amanda Green, and I've lived in Iowa all my 44 years, and I'm currently raising 3 fantastic children here in Coralville, in the Coralville school system. I think everybody knows now that especially in the past year, I've heard it more than ever, our state motto is, our liberties we prize, our rights we will maintain. And it's interesting because if you sat here tonight, you heard about the economically challenged, deserving oral and other health care, immigrants and refugees deserving welcoming, and that nothing, not a single comment in today's comments suggests that we, the citizens, wish our movements to be tracked. It's, as mentioned in previous comments, this year has been horrendous for the LGBTQ plus community. It's one that I, as a trans person, and my rainbow children have considered leaving the state of Iowa for. That's how unsafe we already feel. It's also historically well documented that surveillance has a disproportionately negative impact on marginalized citizens. Sorry, it's a little hard to breathe under my mask. I'm going to take it down. Marginalization is a word that we hear a lot, but to remind you, it's a reference to the margins, so to the edges. There are groups of people who are systemically pushed away from the center of our society and the rights that we focus on, the rights that we protect. BIPOC folks, immigrants, queer people. Compounding this, today the Supreme Court of the United States voted that racially profiling is openly legal again. To be clear, racially profiling never stopped, if you think back to stop and frisk and much further back. But for a short while, we all collectively recognized that openly stating that race alone equals suspicion was wrong. thanks to SCOTUS today, we're boldly declaring that, it's okay to stop and harass people based on the color of their skin or the language that they speak. So based on that tremendously dangerous, racist SCOTUS ruling today, based on the outcome of the 2024 JOCO 7 trials, that's JOCO7.org, that showed that there was already active targeting of trans citizens in Iowa. And the fact that, again, our state motto is, our liberties we prize, our rights we will maintain. The only Iowan and American thing to do here is to not put our community resources toward further surveilling citizens, to not actively, that we do actively need to protect immigrants and BIPOC folks, and that we do need to protect those being actively erased from our state protections, such as trans and non-binary citizens. These issues are not unrelated, and what's right for Iowa and Coralville is not unclear. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Are we ready to move on to the next agenda item? Oh. Yeah, go for it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tara McGovern. I didn't prepare a statement, but I'm so happy to see all my friends here. I want to acknowledge all of the incredible work of the Johnson County Trans Advisory Committee on preparing this resolution. A lot of thought went into it. We want to thank the supervisors, V. Fixman-Rise and Mandy Remington, for the resolution that came out of the county. And we just ask that you approach this conversation, keeping in mind that really all of this work has been presented to you by the people who are most affected by it. I want to give credit also to Reverend Sean McRoberts, to Dr. Emma Denny, and all of the work that was put in during a really difficult time for all of us. So we just ask that you meet us with open hearts and open minds and do what is right for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Or anybody else? I think we're good. Okay, then. Let's move on then to our conversation about the proposed equal protection resolution. So one thing I just want to note real quick before we get into, too far into the weeds here, what we're doing tonight is we are just looking it over. I'm going to get a general sense of how many council members are interested in moving forward to have this as a formal vote. We're just getting some head nods tonight. If there's a majority that would like to put this up for a formal vote, that will be on the agenda for the first meeting in October. So that's the order of business tonight. Tonight we're not doing a formal vote. We're just having a discussion. So before we get into it too much, I want to start with a few comments. And the first thing that I want to say is thank you to Katie Freeman. You're way there in the back. I see you, though. And Katie is the reason that this is up for discussion. It is Katie's work in advocating, in reaching out. It is Katie who reached out to me at the beginning of the year. We've had several conversations. We've met several times. And so I wanted to acknowledge their work, their courage, their advocacy. And I really appreciate everything that you've done to bring this to us. So I wanted to say thank you to Katie Freeman. Let's give Katie a round of applause. I also wanted to acknowledge the work of the Trans Advisory Committee of Johnson County. I attended the meeting last night, and I just have to say that they are doing incredible, necessary work. They are working together within the community. They are talking to folks around the state. They are really showing leadership here in our community that is inspiring folks not just across the community, but again, across the state. And I wanted to talk about how they're coming up with those creative solutions, thinking outside the box, to try to find ways to protect the LGBTQ plus community given the vicious attacks that we are seeing at the state and federal level. And I want to acknowledge Johnson County Supervisor V. Fixmer-Arise for their leadership on this issue as well. They were instrumental in getting the Trans Advisory Committee put together. So thank you, V. Let's give V a round of applause. And, one of the things that I really struck me after I left the meeting last night is that the way that the Trans Advisory Committee is working, the way that they're looking for these innovative solutions, and they're thinking outside of the box and coming up with strategies that can be utilized locally. That is the work that we should all be doing. And I want to really call on my colleagues with this, my council colleagues. I want to call on city staff. I want to call on the community, and I want to ask that we engage in that type of work also. This resolution is a great first step. It's a great first step, but I really want to see us working together to come up with additional ways that we can protect the LGBTQ plus community here locally. And I think this resolution is a great way to affirm what we already have written in our human rights ordinance. It draws very heavily from the human rights ordinance, and I've heard some other commenters saying that it's an affirmation. It is a way of solidifying our commitment to making sure that everybody in Coralville feels protected, that people that, not just the folks that are in Coralville, but the people that come and visit our community. We always talk so much about hospitality and visitors that we have here in the community. And this not only does it mean a lot for the people that live here, but for the people that come and visit our community as well, that they'll know that this is a place where they can have some semblance of safety. And so I am really eager to have this conversation. The other thing that I wanted to note is that I've been working in the community for a while. I've been engaging with the community for many years, both as an elected official and also just as a resident, prior to being an elected official. And I know, based on all of that work that I've done, I know that this resolution is very much aligned with the vast majority of the people in Coralville, that our values, the vast majority of the people of Coralville, their values are reflected in our human rights ordinance. And so that is one of the reasons I'm so proud to be in this community. The other thing that I did want to note, we do have 2 council members who are absent this evening. And I have spoken with both of them, and I just wanted to note that they have indicated that they are supportive. Councilmember Peterson supports bringing this resolution to a vote, and Councilmember Nguyen also is supportive of bringing this resolution to a vote. So I wanted to note that, and I wanted to make sure that they had their opinion shared this evening. So with that, I will turn it over to open it up for discussion. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts about the resolution or the human rights ordinance?
Of course I do.
Good.
I want to start by thanking Katie and Tara who talked to me about this 2 or 3 weeks ago as well, and their efforts in bringing this to our attention. It's sad that it's kind of come to this. I want to give credit to the council in 2007 who put this into our legislature. I was not aware of that until I read this. Certainly very happy to reaffirm those efforts back then, which I would think were maybe a little bit ahead of their time in 2007, which is great. I am tired of our elected leaders at the state and federal level punching down on people. And this is just a small step to help lift people up. And if we can do that, I would fully support that.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. What are some other thoughts, Rich or Lori?
Yeah, I read chapter 26, our human rights ordinance, word for word. And yeah, the council at that time, I think, was very forward-thinking, and they address everything, everybody, the people of Johnson County, from discrimination based on age, color, creed, disability, gender identity, marital status, national origin, race, religion, sex, or sexual orientation. To me, it's pretty inclusive and comprehensive. I've tried to compare it. I did compare it to this proposed document, and I struggle with seeing anything in this proposed document that's not already included in our human rights ordinance. Human rights, we all know that the state, did their eliminated the category last year, but it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but it's my understanding that local ordinances, or local municipalities, have the right to broaden and go beyond the state? Is that?
Yeah. In Senate File 418, Section 216.19 allows the cities, local governments, cities, counties, to pass an ordinance that covers broader sections, that broader categories than the state requires to be protected. So yes, that Senate File 418 did not remove that section so that we would not have to remove. No, we can keep our ordinance the same as it is now, protecting gender identity, even though the state took it out of the state human rights statute.
So this community is already included in our ordinance, in the language in our ordinance.
Yeah, the way it's written, yeah, they were included. It was pretty much all the categories that were in the state law.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Right. So I guess I'm philosophically opposed to a resolution. If there's a need, then I guess I would be more in tune to do an amendment to our current ordinance as opposed to a separate resolution, if that's deemed necessary. I don't want to offend anybody, but it's when special interest groups of any kind promote their interests, that's great, but to have that embedded into an ordinance to identify a specific special interest group, that's where I have a philosophical problem. I have a philosophical opposition to that. I really do. I don't know. I mean, in the proposed amendment, for instance, one thing that they mentioned, word violence, and I would like to. It'd be interesting to know what that means exactly, because I don't support violence of any kind, whether it's verbal or physical. Obviously, I'm not against. I'm not that. Pertaining to, I want to address just one thing about the housing issue is mentioned. In the years that I've been involved in business, I've known a lot of property owners and a lot of landlords. Their interests are pretty basic. Being a landlord is a business. They're interested in only a couple of things. They want tenants to pay rent on time. They don't want tenants to do any damage to their property. They don't want their tenants to do anything illegal, and they don't want their tenants to disrupt the privacy and the comfort of other tenants in their properties. And that's pretty much the extent of what landlords want and look for in a tenant. Beyond that, I have never, in the 40-some years I've been in this business, and the landlords and property owners that I've known, I have never encountered anyone that's done any discrimination of any kind. On a professional level, I've been involved on a professional standards committee for our associations for 30 years. I've sat on many many professional hearing panels, and a lot of them had to do with complaints, accusations of discrimination, and we take those things very seriously. I'll point out that the National Association of Realtors has a very extensive code of ethics. Their Article 10, in fact, our association reaffirmed this after the state did their thing. Gender identity was not taken out of our code of ethics. It's remained in there, and it will remain in from our professional code of ethics. So anyway, just want to make that comment. I see Chapter 26 as having an awful lot of safeguards and already embedded in the ordinance. I honestly can't see any reason for the resolution. I don't know. That's kind of where I stand right now.
Okay.
And I guess, talking about special interest groups, I know that may offend people, but in fact, I think this is exactly what it is. And at what point, if we start embedding special interest language into our ordinance or resolution, where does it stop? What's the next special interest group?
Okay.
What's the next special interest group that's going to come forward? So where does it stop? Because I think it sets a precedence, and we're already covering everybody in our current ordinance.
So a couple things. Number one, this is absolutely not a special interest group. This is not a special interest group. The NRA is a special interest group. This is not a special interest group. I think you heard some comments of folks talking about how they feel dehumanized and how acts like this, taking action like this, is a way to help people feel seen and feel safe. And that is incredibly important when you are part of a community that is being absolutely relentlessly attacked, that is, in essence, there are leaders that are trying to erase the existence of trans people. And so I want to really emphasize that this is not a special interest group at all. A couple other things that I wanted to just note. You mentioned violence, having questions about including violence in there. The trans community is, I can't overstate how vulnerable the trans community is to all kinds of acts of violence. And I don't have the statistics off the top of my head, but I'm sure that a quick Google search would provide the information about how trans people are incredibly disproportionately affected by all kinds of violence, and especially trans folks of color in particular, trans women of color. There's a mountain of evidence that will acknowledge that. So I think that is why it's important to include that. I would also say I think it's wonderful that thank you for sharing that about the Association of Realtors, their code of ethics. That's also helpful to know for trans folks that have experienced housing discrimination. And again, I think that if you were to talk to some folks, from the trans community, I think you would hear a lot of stories about how housing discrimination in particular is an issue that is something that has been impacted folks of in the trans community. And so I think, again, this is something that means a lot to the community members that have spoken with us. And it may be hard to understand if there has never been a law passed that would impact your ability to be your full self. If there's never been a law passed that impacts who you can marry, how you can, whether or not you have the right to be a parent to your children, to have full parental rights. If you've never been impacted by a law that will, again, try to erase you. Iowa was the first state that actively removed these protections. And unfortunately, one of the things that we know about Iowa is that often we're the first domino to fall. That's going to happen other places as well. In 2025 alone, I think this is a relatively accurate statistic, talking about bills, talking about legislation. There were 987 anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ plus bills introduced in 49 states around the country. So, this is a very serious issue that we are facing, and we have community members who are coming to us and they are asking us to do something that will affirm their existence, that will affirm our commitment to keeping them safe. And yes, I know that a lot of the stuff in here is already in our human rights ordinance, and I actually that's one of the things that I love about it, is that it's a way that we can kind of go line by line and talk about some specific things that we can do to, again, reaffirm, say that this is, we have this human rights ordinance, and this is what we are going to do to make sure that folks can feel protected. So I hear your comments, but I would respectfully disagree. And I would really encourage you to maybe talk to some of the community members who are being disproportionately impacted. People are very afraid right now. They're very afraid right now. And this is an important step in showing that we care about that and that we care about their safety and protection.
Everybody deserves to be safe and to be happy. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. This is not a personal thing. It's a procedural, philosophical opposition that I have. It's not a thing. I mean, our current ordinance says denial of service is unlawful for any person to deny any person the full and equal enjoyment and so on and so forth, right? That's pretty inclusive and comprehensive, okay? That's part of what I'm trying to say, is that everybody's already included in our ordinance, okay? We can have all kinds of laws in the world, but it still comes down to human interaction. You can still, somebody can be a jerk to another person for no particular reason. It still comes down to a personal level. We can have all the kind of ordinances and laws, but if it still comes down to an individual interacting with another individual. State laws aside, I'm sorry to get that, but our current ordinance has 6.5 pages dedicated to the dealing with the enforcement of this ordinance. Again, it's pretty comprehensive, pretty detailed. So it's not, don't get me wrong, I'm not targeting individuals or lifestyles or anything else. I don't care. I honestly, in the core, and I've told you this, Megan, in the core of my soul, I don't care how people live or how they conduct their life, as long as if they're not doing anything illegal they're not doing harm to somebody else, fine. I believe that in the core of my soul, okay? I'm referring to the procedural issue that we're talking about. I don't see a need to have a separate resolution to be kind of a ditto from what we already are saying in our ordinance. That's all.
Yeah.
And if we need to do an affirmation of our current ordinance, great. If there's something that needs to be amended, that's great. I'm opposed to having another resolution, another layer to something that we already are saying.
The one thing, and then I think Mike has a comment, but, you know, you mentioned law abiding, that you know, as long as people are law abiding, then that, you know, that's something that you know, they should be able to be free to live their lives and so on and so forth. But again, I would just say that there are laws being passed that are attempting to make several things illegal. I mean, there was a law that was floated during the last legislative session that would have taken away the rights of you know, equal marriage rights. And so, you know, I hear that you want, you know, people to be law-abiding. The problem is that there are legislators and leaders that are trying to make many aspects of our trans and LGBTQ plus community members, trying to make many aspects of their very existence illegal.
Right.
And I know that, you know, it may seem redundant, but if it's redundant, then I don't understand what the problem is, and especially since we heard from so many community members about how much this means to them. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm at. You had a comment, Lori, and then I think Mike did too.
Can I make it quick?
Yeah,
It's about the difference between ordinance and resolution.
Yeah.
And in short, resolutions are a flexible tool for a city government to conduct its day-to-day business, manage its internal affairs, and take a stance on a temporary or specific issue. And I think that's what we're doing here today, taking a stance on a specific issue. And it says they are distinct from ordinances, which are meant to create lasting enforceable laws. So we have the lasting enforceable law, and we are using a resolution to speak to a specific issue. Okay? So I think creating understanding and care for our families, for the people in Coralville, is vital. And I'll just say that I'm for the resolution that reflects the ordinance that we have.
All right. Thank you.
I just wanted to butt in and say.
No, I'm glad that you did.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
But it's different, you know,
Yeah.
ordinances and resolutions are different.
Yeah,
and-
I hear that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. Mike, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm curious. I know the community comments section is over, but I'm curious if there's anybody in the room who has faced housing discrimination.
Maybe just to raise the hand.
Do a raise of hands
Yep.
due to their sexual
Yep.
orientation, and I see several, and I think I heard from my colleague here that he didn't think that really existed in his experience.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
pretty
great.
sure.
If
I'm
you've
not,
never-
I just said I've not heard of it or experienced
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I didn't say,
I said in your experience.
yeah.
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
experience.
They have a very different experience than us, Rich. They do.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never faced it.
Yeah, and
We're
that's.
white male. you know.
Yeah, exactly. I hear that. And I think, Rich, where you are wanting to come from is this idea that everybody should be judged just by the, you know, how they treat people. Everybody should be judged just, you know, how they, you know, the values that they live. And I agree. I really wish that is the way that the world worked, because that's how it should work. That's how it should be. But the reality for so many of our community members is that is not the case. And these issues, unfortunately, are being exacerbated by a lot of the hate that we are seeing come from our state and local government. And so I am always going to do what I can to try to create that kind of a world where people are only judged just by the content of their character. And I hope that someday that we get to that place. But I appreciate everybody's comments and everybody's thoughts on this. It does sound to me, you know, based on the two folks, Councilmember Peterson and Nguyen, that are in favor of this. We have two others, so we have 4 council members that are in favor of bringing this to the agenda for a formal vote. That is obviously a majority, we can all count. So I think we will go ahead and move forward with bringing this to the next meeting for a formal vote.
Mayor, I had one more anecdote I forgot to mention.
Yes, please share.
Just in the last week or two, I've learned of a couple professionals who moved here just a few years ago from the East Coast, and have 3 kids, and just learned that they're leaving the state, you know, partly for professional opportunities, but one of their children, you know, they're concerned or considering that they might be transgender, and they did not feel comfortable bringing that child up in this state. And what do you say to that? I can't blame them. Yeah. And this is one small step we can do here to support folks like that.
I hear you. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. Excellent. So that will be the first meeting in October. I appreciate everybody's thoughts. Thank you to everybody that came and spoke as well. I know that it is not easy. And I am grateful for everybody that's here talking about how important this is. All right. Thank you, folks. All right. So we have just a couple more agenda items. This is a very small agenda. It's not always this short, but tonight we have a light agenda. So we will move on to the next agenda item, which is Lot 4, Iowa River Landing, Part 2. And this is an option agreement with Bader Development. And this would be for the lot north of the UIHC West parking ramp in the Iowa River Landing District. So could I have that resolution read, please?
Yes. Resolution approving option agreement for Lot 4, Iowa River Landing, Part 2, Coralville, Iowa. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Vogelzang. Any questions or comments on this item? This would be, so can you talk a little bit about the ramp situation? Because I know that we've had other issues with the parking down there. So this is just
looking at development of the lot north of the ramp, so it doesn't have anything to do with the ramp.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I got you. For the lot north. Okay. I apologize. That was my bad for not reading that very carefully. Okay. Any other decent and relevant questions other than what I just asked?
I guess I would advocate, I don't know what discussions have occurred with this developer, but I would advocate, certainly there's some prime, for commercial opportunities there, but I would advocate that we also have some residential on top of it, like the rest of the development in that, or much of the development in that area. The more residents we can get in there, the better the businesses will do. So encourage us to factor that in. I think the previous person was considering doing that for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, this one is also looking at mixed use. They are trying to figure out, obviously a lot of it's dictated about how much parking they can get on the lot. And so that's one of the things they'll be working through.
Yeah. What we can do to support that would be great.
Excellent. All right. Anything else? Okay, could I have the roll call, please?
Knutson?
Aye.
Vogelzang?
Aye.
Goodrich?
Aye. Resolution is approved, all ayes. Next item, we have amendment number 2 to a license agreement, and this amendment number 2 is with the Iowa Children's Museum to operate the Welcome Center in Coral Ridge Mall. This would increase the annual payment to $63,000 a year and would extend the term through January of 2027. Could I have that resolution read, please?
Resolution approving amendment number 2 to that certain license agreement with the Iowa Children's Museum regarding the operation of the Welcome Center at Coral Ridge Mall. This resolution introduced for adoption by Councilmember Vogelsang, seconded by.
Seconded by Goodrich. Any questions on this item?
How much of an increase is this?
It's $3,000. We do 5% as part of the agreement each time we renew. They've asked for a shorter term as they just look at their options and wanted some flexibility. So the original agreement was 5 years, and now we've amended it twice for a year each time.
Okay.
Anything else?
They do a good job there. We appreciate
Yeah,
the Welcome Center. Yeah.
they sure do. It's very important. Okay, could I have the roll call, please?
Vogelsang.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. And finally, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented. Hi is not here, so somebody else is going to have to do it. We not?
Well, I will motion to approve the consent calendar as presented, items A through AA.
Okay, moved by Knutson. Could I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Could I have the roll call, please?
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Vogelsang.
Aye.
The consent calendar is approved, all ayes. Okay, that brings us to the end of the formal, or the agenda items, other than our reports. We'll start with the city administrator's report.
Just one item, Mayor, just like to welcome the scouts from Scouts BSA Troop 207. They're working on the communications merit badge. So
All right.
there's 5 of those scouts here tonight. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, great. Mayor's report. I have a few things. So we already heard about some of those really great events coming up at the beginning of the meeting when I was doing the proclamations, the Mission of Mercy event. That's coming up. Also, the community meal at the library, September 19th from 5 to 7 p.m. I always love our community meals so much. So really looking forward to that. I also wanted to talk about a couple of programs and initiatives that I wanted to call some attention to. So in a couple of weeks, we are going to have a harm reduction vending machine placed in the Coralville Library, and I am so excited about this. This is a partnership with Johnson County Public Health, and this is going to be a vending machine that is going to have all kinds of life-saving and important items in it, Narcan. There's going to be contraceptives in it, other types of hygiene products, many other really important things that folks might need to access, like a wound care kit, many other items. And the nice thing about this is that they're all free. There's no identification needed to access the vending machine. It'll just be there for any folks that need it. So please keep your eyes peeled for that. That will be coming soon. And love these partnerships, and I love our library so much. Another thing that I wanted to note, we're in a transitional weather season situation right now. Some days it's hot, some days it's cold. But this, I thought of this as we were, as getting a little bit colder, things were cooling off. Thinking about how I'd have to turn my furnace on in a few weeks. And I just wanted to call attention to our Neighbors Helping Neighbors utility program. This is a utility assistance fund that we have here at the city where community members can donate, and this goes into a fund that will help community members that might have challenges paying their water bills. And so I want to call attention to it. This is actually something that Councilmember Goodrich proposed several years ago during the pandemic. And I just wanted to highlight that because, again, it's starting to get cold. utility bills are going up, costs are going up all across the board, and I just wanted to highlight a program that we have here in the community that maybe some folks might not be aware of that can really, really be helpful for the folks in our community that are struggling with those extra expenses. So if you go to our website, you'll find a page where you can learn more about the program and make a donation. And so I would love to, I know, like I said, I know it's a little bit early, but I would love to see that fund built up so that when we do get into the colder winter months, that we have a nice cushion there for folks that can to access that, if those funds, if they need them. So I encourage you to check that out on the city's website and make a donation if you are able to. And that is all I have. City attorney's report.
Nothing, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Committee and council members report. Let's start down here with Councilmember Goodrich.
The Scouts tonight. This probably wasn't the kind of meeting that you expected, but I hope that you gained
good one.
Some information. And just, as school has started, just welcome everybody back. And there's so many opportunities at the rec center and also at the public library. So check those out too as you get involved with your school year. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Lori. Rich, what do you have for us tonight?
Welcome to Scouts too. Thanks for all you do. Appreciate it. I want to talk a little bit about the local option sales tax, otherwise known as LOST, L-O-S-T. Campaigns have started already, obviously in Coralville, North Liberty, and Iowa City. It's a 1% sales tax, and it does not apply, or it does apply to retail purchases, restaurants and bars, coffee shops, entertainment, sports events, things like that. But it does not, it's a 1% tax, but it does not apply to some basic household necessities like groceries, mortgage payment, rent payments, utilities, gas, prescription drugs, those sorts of things are excluded from the sales tax. It will be on the ballot for all three municipalities in November 4th. A couple of interesting facts about it. There are 923 cities in the state of Iowa that already collect this local option sales tax. There's only 17 cities in the state that do not. Coralville and Iowa City and North Liberty are three of those cities that do not at this point. So right now, Solon, University Heights, Tiffin, West Branch, Swisher, and Lone Tree are Johnson County communities that do and have passed the local option sales tax and are already. Again, by law, 50% of the sales tax, local option sales tax, has to be applied toward a reduction of property taxes. The remaining balance, particularly and specifically to Coralville, obviously we want to use some of those funds to fund a new rec center, which is a pretty important part of our community. Also for trails and parks, as well as funds going toward affordable housing efforts as well. So there are buttons available. There's also yard signs. You've probably seen a few yard signs around town already. Yard signs are available at the Convention Visitors Bureau building on First Avenue up by the interstate. So feel free to stop in, grab a couple for yourself and for your neighbors. So that's that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mike.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I'll mix things up a little bit and completely agree with Rich on his support of LOST and really encourage people. I mean, the rec center is just one of many projects that we hope it will support over the years, but it's a critical one. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Knutson, seconded by Vogelzang. All in favor, please say aye. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, folks.